Welcome to Off the Court, a show dedicated to making you the best version of yourself as a player and as a person. I'm Coach Jack, owner of Close the Gate Hoops, the #1 basketball training company in the state of Wisconsin. If you're trying to take your life and game to the next level, this is the podcast for you. Let's get it. Back at you with another episode of Off the Court. Today I kind of want to do a little bit of story time because I know I give out so much advice and information of how to better yourself and how to live, quote-unquote, the perfect life. But today, I personally really struggled. And it's hard for me sometimes when I give out all this advice, and even though I know what information is correct, it's still hard for me to apply sometimes. So basically kind of how my day went, I got extremely stressed. And it started because it was an expectation that I had, right? So I just moved into my new apartment in Platteville. Now that I'm all moved in, I finally have some time to myself, time to get really productive things done, for example, like for CTG. And so I had this expectation that I was going to get tons of things done, just like the good old days during COVID when I literally just did CTG nonstop and I got so much done. And with this expectation, what it did is it caused me more stress. So throughout the day, my expectation was that I was going to get a ton of things done, which I still did, but my expectation had them much higher, which then diminished my quality of work if I never had an expectation in the first place. This is a perfect example of how expectations in all parts of our life really ruin the present moment, right? When we have an expectation that we're going to play more or that we're going to play well, and when that doesn't happen, right, we become disappointed or we actually perform worse. And it's not that we shouldn't expect great things from us, right? We should expect this, but it's the attachment to this expectation which is truly key, right? I was attached to the idea of me being able to get tons of things done, going to be a super productive day, going to influence a ton of lives with the things I make today, and it just didn't turn out to be the way I expected it, and as a result, my performance of getting things done significantly diminished, and my stress levels were off the charts throughout the day because I had this huge list of all the things I got to get done on my whiteboard, and it truly made me reflect. As I'm doing these voice memos now, I'm actually going to try and do more voice memos of reflections of my day and kind of the biggest takeaways of the things I've learned. But I was reading Steve Jobs' autobiography the other day, and one of his quotes was, "Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication." So what this means basically is that the more overcomplicated you make things, right, the more stressed you're going to be, the less you're going to get done, and basically decreasing your overall performance. When we truly make things simple, like in all ways, shapes, and forms, right, we minimize options. When we have more options, we actually make worse decisions. Where if we just picked up one book and said, I'm going to read this book today, right, you're going to get a lot more done than thinking, oh, should I have picked that book or the other book, which is kind of thoughts that I run into all the time. And this can totally happen in your basketball game when we're approaching, what drill work we're supposed to be doing. Could I be doing a better drill right now? Where if you focus on simplifying your options, you go out, you experiment, and you do, right? Kind of similar to the close the gap that I've talked about in previous podcasts. We don't want to have thought and then wait to do action. Just go take advantage of that thought and idea and take action. Don't let there be a gap between thought and action. But basically what I'm encouraging you gatekeepers to do is simplify basically everything you do so that you make less choices, you have less stress, and your performance actually increases, right? So simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. And then my last biggest takeaway from today, when I was extremely stressed, overwhelmed, and felt like I kind of wasted a day, is forgiveness of yourself, right? You have to build the ability in your brain to forgive yourself when things happen how you didn't want them to, right? And you do things that you might not have wanted to. You have to forgive yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, you try to make your best decisions based on the knowledge that you have, right? You're doing your best. You don't self-sabotage yourself on purpose, even though we do it. You don't do it on purpose, right? So the intention was there to try and be the best you could be, but sometimes your brain gets the better of yourself, right? So we have to forgive ourselves by letting go of that grip of pressure, right? Letting go of the past. We cannot control the time that we wasted previously by being so stressed and overwhelmed about things. So we have to forgive ourselves, and we just forgive ourselves by letting go of everything that isn't this present moment right now. Thanks so much for listening, gatekeepers, and I just want you to know everyone goes through things. Like, nobody's perfect, nothing is universal, right? And no certain learning knowledge is going to apply directly to every single person in the world. You have to apply things yourself and experiment, and some things just aren't going to work for you, right? So what I do by giving you stories like these is to show you what you're going through is so normal, and I guarantee you I go through the same thing every day. What helps me the most, though, and what I've learned today is just simplify everything, lessen your choices, and just learn to forgive yourself. Yes, today, all in all, wasn't the day I wanted to have for productivity in terms of CTG, but I learned the ability to forgive myself. And to get through those stressful emotions, right, I have to train myself to manage stress. And I can't train to manage stress if I'm not stressful in the first place, right? And you can kind of see how my mindset's approaching this is that, everything is necessary to become the best version of yourself. Because all we're really doing at the end of the day, the biggest life goal that we can do is to try and become the best version of ourselves, and that's by growing every single day. I'm sure all of you podcast listeners, if you're on Hoops, growth mindset, whichever one it is, you can take away tons of things from this episode. Just remember to not be attached to expectations. Simplify, know that less is more, give yourself less options, and forgive yourself. Let go of the uncontrollables and know you only have control over this present moment. Let go of everything else. Thanks for tuning in, Gatekeepers. Hopefully you learned a lot from my crazy day today. But always know that you can reach out to me about anything. And I'm just here to try and help you guys be the best people that you can be. And hopefully you guys can take away something that I say and leads you down a path in your life that eventually, I know one day that I could have helped with that, right? That's really what it's about at the end of the day, is influence and trying to make others around you better, which in result helps us, right? All right, I'll go on a little spiel because since I'm in my bed and I have random thoughts all the time, but wise selfishness versus foolish selfishness. So I love to influence people from wise selfishness because I know it makes me feel better when I serve others, when I do things for other people to make them better. That makes me feel good. That's why I love to do that. And I read a quote in the book the other day, just know the difference between wise selfishness and foolish selfishness, right? Foolish selfishness is just doing things for yourself without, any thought of anyone else. Sorry, random thought, random, knowledge blurb. But thanks, Gatekeepers, for listening. Always know you can contact me about anything. I'm Coach Jack. We out, baby. Peace.